a small UC Berkeley research project in 2013 to the world's most valued private AI startup, Databricks has ridden the wave of cloud-first data engineering and machine learning at scale. Today, with over $100 billion valuation and $1 billion in AI-driven revenue, the company is partnering as well as competing with the largest hyperscalers and AI firms. In fact, Reuters reported today that Databricks is in talks to raise capital at a valuation which is above $150 billion. As the world debates AGI timelines and the fragility of AI's debt-fueled investment boom, Databricks co-founder Patrick Wendell says his company leans into cash-generating growth, India-centric expansion, and a focus on the asset-light model around data plus AI solutions. In this third episode of the Morning Brief special series, ET in the Valley, I met up with Patrick in their office in San Francisco. And I asked Patrick, can Databricks simplify data AI stack ahead of hyperscalers? What's India's real role in the Databricks story and in the global AI value chain? Is the AI gold rush creating a debt bubble or real long-term value? What were his answers? Listen in. It's Wednesday. I am Surabhi Agarwal. This is ET in the Valley. Thank you, Patrick, for talking to the Economic Times. It's a real pleasure. So Databricks was founded in 2013, from there to being the most valued private startup in AI. How would you describe this 13-year-old journey?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And actually, you were at the Databricks office, so I guess thank you for joining me is what I should really say. Began out of a university environment, and it was a few grad students and a few faculty. This was 2010, so it was quite almost 15 years ago now. But at the time, what was super exciting was that the capabilities of doing very large-scale data management and large-scale machine learning were starting to become possible. The biggest reason was that hardware had gotten a lot less expensive. The cost of storage and compute went way down. And suddenly, companies could afford to store and process massive amounts of data. But the tools and the software for dealing with data at scale was really quite poor. It was one way of thinking is if you have small data sets, you might use Excel. But if you want to analyze terabytes of data or petabytes of data, and you want to do machine learning on it, the software was really very difficult to use. You almost had to build everything yourself. So that was a research problem we wanted to solve. And we built some pretty good software for it. And it started getting a lot of traction. Many companies were using it. Then we went around to all the data platforms at that time, and we tried to just give them the stuff for free, actually, because we wanted to write papers and do some academic work. And we said, hey, you guys take this, you go build a business. That's not our department. But very few of them, they all thought, oh no, this is not going to work. It's too risky. We have our own stuff. And so then it was almost out of determination to prove ourselves. We said, you know what, we'll go start a company around this stuff. In retrospect, we were very naive, but I think that's maybe important. If you want to start a company, you need to not know too much. If you know too much, you probably won't do it. But if you fast forward to today, we have almost 20,000 customers. I don't know exactly what's our latest customer count we've said publicly, but it's in that neighborhood. And we have a huge portion of the world, they build their core data platform on top of Databricks because we built software that simplifies all these problems they have.
But don't you think that you kind of entered a market which was already very crowded? You came into a market which already has so many data management products. So how do you differentiate?
Yeah, so it's a very mature market. And then the question becomes, how do new entrants come? How could you possibly come into this market where there's so much entrenchment? And usually what happens is that there's some new dimension on which a newcomer is just far better than the old ones. And when we started Databricks, there was two things we were focused on that were actually quite unique at the time. But the first one was that we focused on cloud managed software. So everything was fully managed for you. When we started raising money in 2013, many of the people we would go raise money from, they would say, why are you focused on the cloud? It's a tiny market. The cloud is 1% of the enterprise spend. So you won't make any money in the cloud. And you saw it took other companies many years to make the transition. Like Microsoft, who's doing a good job now, it took them many, many, many years. So we focused on cloud and we focused on these more machine learning type workloads, even from the very beginning. And then when the market started turning in our direction and you had more people going onto cloud and you had many more people doing machine learning and these advanced, we were there with a good product. The only way to enter a mature market as a startup is you have to have something on which you're just far better. And you have to have enough time to really get very good at that thing before everyone realizes. So we chose some good bets and we stuck to them and they ended up working out. But I do still find it somewhat of a miracle that we succeeded, to be totally honest. So many coin flips need to go in the right direction, even if you execute very well.
So my next question is that if we look at the developments of the last few days or rather weeks, everybody from OpenAI to other companies are trying to have partnerships which kind of give them an end-to-end stack, right? And building a lot of partnerships. So where's Databricks on that? Are you also going to provide an end-to-end stack and build partnerships like your competitors?
Yeah. So first of all, there's different types of players in this market. The companies that we're most often in the conversation with are actually the superscalers, the cloud vendors, that the Amazons, Googles, and Microsoft and their associated clouds, and some Oracle now more with the AI stuff. So in terms of how we play in that world, I think we're really laser focused on the data and applications layer. So there are some things you will not see us do anytime soon. Like we will not build hardware on our own. So in some sense, we do focus on a narrower problem. So I think in some ways we see that focus as like a feature, not a bug. Our view is if we can really just be the best in the world at this kind of core data and AI layer, that's going to be something the market wants effectively, because that's what we've seen as successful so far.
So let me talk a little bit about India now. So how do you look at India as a market? Is it a big consumption market for a company like Databricks and its products? Or is it like a big tech innovation market like a lot of other sort of global technology firms use it for?
Both. I mean, very much both. I'm personally going to India in like 3 weeks for 10 days or so. The explosion of these digital native businesses in India, as a person building this infrastructure like us, those are great partners and customers for us. So that's absolutely like one huge part of it. But also just as much is that there's amazing talent in India as well. And we have a development center in Bangalore. We've invested a lot there. I'm going to be spending substantial time there next week or in a few weeks. It's an area with a very high density of technical talent. A lot of the great people who grew up in India, were educated there, many of them are staying there now. So if we want access to that great talent, we've got to be over there. And it's not just the classic model from the old days of, you outsource some developers to India to reduce costs. That's not how American companies see now. I think they see it as a huge consumption market also. Yeah. And a place to get really top technical talent, not just, a talent that's cheap, so to speak. In fact, it's not even that cheap anymore. It's mostly about getting access to people that we otherwise would not get access to in Databricks.
Sure. So could you give us a little bit of idea what kind of tech is being developed at your India center? If you could just talk a little bit about the innovation and how is it contributing to Databricks overall?
Yeah, so what's actually pretty cool is like many of our meaty and difficult problems are being solved in our India R&D center. And almost every part of Databricks has a presence there. We have things all the way from the lowest level, how do we optimize storage, all the way up to like contributing to our AI products. It's some of our most important infrastructure bets are over there.
Let me now come to a very, very hot question, which is about AI salaries. What do you make of this huge spurt in salaries for AI talent and this huge war of sorts which is happening in the Silicon Valley? And also, do you think that, this because of this talent war, more and more companies are looking at India as a market because that is where maybe the AI talent is available and at relatively inexpensive, yeah.
I mean, first of all, there's the ones you see in the media, this like, completely NBA basketball player level salary. And although those are exciting to write articles about, that's not the common case. Okay, so that's not the median. But I think in general, maybe more interesting is that even, for the average developer that has some AI experience, there's fierce competition right now. And it's also increasing wages. I don't necessarily agree that, in India, you can significantly save a lot of costs on those similar talent people because it's an international market. So like the other companies that are hiring those people can also have presence in India. And like there's plenty of great international tech companies that do have presence.
But maybe it's not just about money, but also availability.
I totally agree. So I don't think we see it as like, oh, you can find the same skills for far less cost. I think it's more just that the number of people that have these skills is pretty small. So like just getting another market in which you can go and find those people is really, really beneficial for us. And by the way, it's not just hiring, it's also retaining those people. And actually so far in our India sites, we've had good retention, and that's like something we're really proud of. And I feel like that's how a company should be judged, is not just can they do these celebrity hires, but like actually do the people there love the company and they stay? You know, people vote with their feet. They can easily go and find other jobs. So I think that's something that's how I would hope to be judged.
Okay, let me now come to a very, very important question, which is sort of on everybody's mind when it comes to India's software industry. With the rise of these coding agents and vibe coding especially, what do you think will happen to the massive software development talent and the industry, which is in India over so many years? In fact, if you look at the software services industry, is in a way comprises of the most of the middle class of the country. So how do you see this getting impacted by what is happening in terms of the AI development and its capabilities?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, no one has a crystal ball to predict exactly the future. And I'll make an analogy. When the first big gains in self-driving cars were in like 2008, it was almost 20 years ago. And when the first demonstrations happened, everyone thought, oh man, there's going to be no more drivers anymore. This job of being a driver is gone, okay? It turned out then Uber was founded like 4 years after that. There's more drivers now than ever there's been ever in the history of the world, more professional drivers. So the effect of innovation on labor markets can actually be very, very hard to predict. So ironically, like in the short term, the demand for these kind of services has exploded because this AI technology is very new and it's actually hard to get it working. And we've seen it, like what we're focused on at Databricks is getting more towards these solutions and to actually having a product that can automate a lot of this difficult work. But that's taking time. And in the meantime, one way to bridge the gap between the very nascent technology and then the desire to have results right away is human beings can come and fix that gap. What I don't know is like, what is the long term? Like in the long term, is that going to be even more, or is parts of that going to be automated? It's actually quite hard to say. But so far, everything in AI seems to just be spurring economic activity, increasing employment, increasing wages, which are all good things. We'll see what happens going forward. Sure.
That's an interesting answer. Let me jump back into Databricks and its plans for India. Sometime back, the company announced investment of about $250 million. Could you talk a little bit about where are we on that investment and how do you see that expanding as you go forward?
Yes. So it's a variety of things. I would say the number one is people. We have already, I think, hundreds of engineers in Bangalore, and that's going to grow. If you look at what our expenses are, it's always the first things are people and then, machines and the cloud infrastructure. And sometimes we have to, for a lot of our GPU-based services, we have to like pre-buy the GPUs a little bit ahead of demand, which is normal. But that means that we have some expenditures that come when we move into a new region.
Okay. So you're going to go beyond $250 million, right?
Yeah, I think that was our initial, we had to come up with some number that we're very conservative. So it's like, but it's going to be much more than that in the medium term.
So now let me ask you another very, very important question. Where are you on the AGI debate?
Yeah, so in my view, it's very hard to define what it means. So like there's one definition, which is there's this thing called the Turing test. That test is like if I'm speaking over text with something, can I not tell if it's a human or a machine? And in fact, I think the idea was, you have someone in the other room. You don't know what it is. This was like proposed a long time ago. I think that has clearly been achieved. Like definitely that's passed. So then people are inventing like more difficult things. The OpenAI claim was like, once we have 10% GDP growth, we're going to say it's AGI because it must have made everyone so much more productive. To me, I find all these like kind of not useful. I think, or at least I don't find the kind of nebulous AGI thing super useful. There's capabilities that are testable, And from what we can tell, like AIs are just going to keep getting better and better and being able to do better at these different capabilities. And there's implications when they get better at certain of them around safety or around other things. So I guess I would say I like reject the premise of the debate. And I think it's more important to focus on progress in different capabilities and then understanding the implications of that progress for safety or for product design. That's what we think about a lot. That's how I think about it more.
Okay, that's a great answer. Tell me, what do you think of these circular deals between NVIDIA, Oracle, OpenAI, and now AMD? I've spent some time in the Valley over the last 1 week, and everybody seems to be slightly surprised and maybe also a little nervous about this large money and investments which is going into these companies, and especially few of them. Do you think that they will generate significant ROI in the long term? Is it sustainable? What is your take?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think, first I will say at Databricks, our financials are very simple. And I think we're happy about that. You know, we're a cash flow positive company. I think we announced that. We're happy to have both high growth and we're producing cash. And it's lovely to have both of those things. So I think we are not so much focused on these very complex financial engineering type things. I do think the degree to which debt is financing huge amounts of AI investment is at times a little scary because, you know, debt makes sense when you're convinced the future is going to be far better and more profitable than today. And, you know, certainly we are starting to see the success cases, but the amount of implied future profitability that's sort of implied by valuations and by the terms of the debt, it's definitely a fairly concentrated amount of risk in one sector. And I think that I do sleep better at night knowing that our balance sheet and income statements are just very simple, like at Databricks, and we're sort of outside of this set of very complex interdependent deals. I think it's a little concerning. Look, whenever you borrow, you're taking on risk, and you're hoping, just in a personal capacity too. You know, you start to accumulate more personal debt and more, and as long as the future you can kind of see your way out of it, it can be fine. It can be seen as investing in a thing that will return later. But when the borrowing starts to get to a certain amount, the set of outcomes where you're going to come out positive in the end starts to get pretty narrow.
Okay, yeah, actually, that's a great point, of course. But let me ask you, where are you guys on profitability? You told me that you are cash positive, of course, but is the company profitable as yet?
So beyond that, I'll have to dig up what we're allowed to say about the other growth metrics. I think I have it, but I don't actually have it right in front of me. Our revenue's in the billions, and we're growing at a very fast clip, and we're generating cash. I also think we announced that more than $1 billion of our current revenue run rate is from AI-related spend. So that's significant, both in absolute terms and as a percentage of our overall revenue. And it's been pretty cool because we're not engaged in the business of creating the foundational models, but there's a lot between the foundation models and then, I want to build a great product. You know, all of our customers want to build their own AI products. There's a lot that is in the middle. That's Agent Bricks. It's this whole like development platform we're building for these AI products. And I think like we've seen adoption and growth in those kind of AI-related services. We're very happy with, basically.
Okay. So, and to close it, let me ask you $1 million, rather $1 billion question maybe. You've raised significant funds recently, and there is a lot of buzz around an IPO. What can you tell us about it?
I think our main focus is like, we certainly want to build a healthy a company that could be a public company. I feel like we've been that for a long time. Like we're fully audited financials. We have healthy margins. We have excellent growth. There's a mature board. And then that decision of whether you do want to take on public capital or not can just be made at any time, you know, because the company is sort of a mature and healthy company.
Right. But do you think that an IPO at this time could be slightly tricky? Because usually IPOs are like the litmus test for the health and success of a company. And in some ways, whichever companies sort of go for an IPO right now could also end up being a test for the industry as a whole. So what do you make of the timing?
Yeah, definitely. I think IPO pricing is somewhat of a signal, or let's even ignore IPOs, public market valuations. But for me, the real signal is like, are there profits being made here? Is anyone who's profitable in this whole supply chain? And I'm very happy to say that we're generating cash, so we're proud of that. But if you go at the bottom, NVIDIA's generating a lot of cash. And then there's like many layers of people that are losing a lot of money. So that's not a great terminal state for the industry. In fact, that's an impossible terminal state because like you can't continue to fund things that are losing money indefinitely. So I think the interesting question in the AI space, the litmus test will be, do you start to see profits being made throughout? And it's going to come from, are there useful products that are high ROI for the companies at the way top? I think that would be the thing to look for more than just, our company's stock price is high, because the stock prices are themselves a product of speculation and an expectation of the future. So that's a much more subjective territory, I think.
Right. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us today. This was a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed it.
This was fun. And thank you. I'm sure it was long travel to get to the Bay Area. Thank you.
Databricks strategy, profitable growth, real AI applications, and a balanced India-US innovation split, where Patrick says that they are not looking at India just as a cost market, certainly offers a counter-narrative to the hype. He also said that he sleeps better at night because they're a cash-rich company. Whether you're tackling AI's economic impact or just betting on the next great IPO, the Databricks story is certainly one to watch out for. That's it for today. This episode was produced by Anirban Chaudhary and Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Stay tuned for the next episode in this amazing series next Wednesday. Keep listening.